40 years of China's opening and reform. I look back, remembering the changes. In 1981, I came here as a student. I became a lawyer and economist, working with China ever since. I advised foreign investors entering China and worked with the Chinese government, drafting the regulations that made it happen. In the 1990s, with globalization, I helped China reform state-owned enterprises, turning them into multinational corporations that would compete on the global stage. In the past decades, I advised on environmental policy that would help China become the world's leader on renewable energy. I have not just observed, but also participated in each stage of China's reform and opening. Now, it's time to tell the story of these past 40 years of reform and opening that has made China the global economy that it is today. It is not about looking back, but learning how we got here and looking toward the future that we will create together. Join me, Laurence Brahm, for China, 40 years of reform and opening, and marathon talks with behind-the-scenes stories from the experts and innovators who are the change that China will be. China, reform and opening, 40 years in perspective.
And today we're talking about lifestyle and how Chinese people's life has changed over the 40 years.
I'm Laurence Brahm.
And I am Li Zhao.
Wait a minute. Yesterday it was Xinmeng.
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back. Oh,
I am.
CGTN keeps switching my anchor. It's a different girl each day. What do I do?
So which one do you prefer?
You know, CGTN's really giving me a dilemma. I mean, it's making
new
me choose between two women, right? Is this about our new lifestyle in China?
Well, I guess.
I think many people in China have the same dilemma. To better understand lifestyles in China, watch this.
When China opened its gates in the late 1970s, foreign visitors were fascinated by the Middle Kingdom's ancient culture. But they also couldn't help but marvel at the striking sameness prevalent in the lives of the country's 1 billion residents, invariably clad in drab tunics, bicycling to their farmlands and work units. By the time Deng Xiaoping added new momentum to the reform endeavor in the early 1990s, Chinese life had undergone a total transformation. Embracing the goods and ideas pouring in from the outside, few Chinese continued to cling to the uniformity that once dominated their lives. As the country accelerated its opening up process with entry to the WTO and a historic bid to host the 2008 Summer Olympics, the diversity of lifestyles in China continued to grow. Whole new industries sprung up in the fields of fashion, tourism, and popular entertainment. TV, cinema, and the more recent booms in social media and mobile internet technologies all thrive in the country, fueled by the increased incomes and leisure hours of a fast-expanding urban population. Benefiting from the more widespread affluence and open-mindedness, some Chinese have found it possible to withdraw from the hectic cycle of getting and spending to pursue interests that they find more fulfilling. And exposure to cultures from around the world has given many in the country a newfound appreciation for their own ancient values and customs.
Whoa.
Lifestyle changes in China happen in a big way. When you're a country of 1.3 billion people, when trends happen, they happen on a quantum scale. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. You know, we used to drink tea and now we're drinking coffee. We used to drink the Chinese liquor, but look at us now. We're drinking wine.
And we're drinking wine in a big way in China, right?
Yeah.
So actually, when you think about the changes that are happening in lifestyle today, you don't realize that we're right now in Beijing. If you look here at this background, there's Harley Davidson, there's sports stuff. We could be in Chicago, we could be in LA, New York.
Yeah.
But we're right here in Beijing, which is one of the most international cities in the world. And you know who brought us this BLT restaurant that we're in now?
Tell us.
The BLT restaurant, which is serving American food, steak, salad, everything you would get.
Right in downtown Beijing.
The heart of Beijing. You are only just, a few minutes bike ride away from the, iconic Tiananmen Square, Great Hall of the People. At the BLT restaurant, the founder is someone named Tao Ge, or Brother Tao, Joe Tao, and he's here. How are you doing?
Hi, great.
Great to see you.
Hi, good
How are
to
you
see
doing?
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Now, I've heard that you are actually the founder of the Harley Davidson Association here in Beijing. Is that right?
No, or one of the clubs.
One of the clubs?
Yeah, my team's called Black Jacket.
Black Jacket?
Yeah, that's our name.
Is that why you're wearing black jacket?
Oh yeah, usually, the riders, they are, play cool.
Yeah.
That's why we're wearing everything every day, we're wearing a black.
Oh,
That's right.
Yeah.
I saw a very blue-collared Harley Davidson parked outside. I've never seen that kind of blue Harley. Is that by chance yours?
Yeah. That's that's my new baby. I just bought this year, and that was because this year is 115 years anniversary of Harley Davidson, and this one is a special design for this year. So this is in around the world it's only have 1,900 bags. And then my bag's number is 186.
Oh.
So
wow, 186. That's a lucky number too in Chinese, right?
Plus it's only one in Beijing. Yeah, I'm so lucky.
Wow, and we're really lucky to be able to be here in the BLT restaurant.
Yeah.
Why do you call it BLT?
BLT is very American name. It's like it's like abbreviation. B stands for bacon, L lettuce, T for tomato.
Right.
So usually on the American menus, they don't write bacon, lettuce, tomato is salad or bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwiches. So the only BLT does it. So
that's
simple. Yeah.
An acronym. And now, what is this telling us about life in Beijing today? I mean, this is a very American-style life.
Yeah.
It's coming into Beijing, a very ancient city. What does it say about lifestyles, Western lifestyles? Are they in conflict or are they in harmony?
I will say, because I start my, after I graduated from school, and then, my first job was in, Jingguang New World Hotel, which is almost, 30 years ago. I saw the change for China is so big, from at that moment, the education, everything until today. The lifestyle is, so fast, changing.
Absolutely. And it's a U.S. restaurant, almost like American-style food.
Oh, yeah.
Are there a lot of Chinese people coming in and get the food?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yes. Because, the scenes change. A lot of Chinese people, they are studying outside of, the country. And even though they work in American, so they are very familiar, with, American food.
Right.
Plus, I think American food is very similar to the North China food.
Really?
Big portion and then strong taste,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's really interesting. Because food is very different.
Sure.
In China, I know, like in the south, the Shanghainese, their food's very delicate. They eat the crab.
Yeah.
Right? And then they go up to the north, and it's like for just like
big portion,
big portion, 8 big dishes, jiaozi, right?
Yeah, sure. Big knuckles.
Yeah.
Pork knuckles.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, I remember 1981. Let's kind of go back.
Yeah.
I'm riding my bicycle as a student in Tianjin, and there was only one Western restaurant called Qisiling, which was a Russian style. And you went there and you had kind of like some potato in a little like mayonnaise and salad. And now, today, the transformation, everything's available here.
I know.
China, Beijing is like a very cosmopolitan city.
Right.
So there's a lot of embassy around, here. And then, I know people, they still prefer the food from their own country.
Right.
So that's why you can see after 30 years, in Beijing, there's many, different flavor or, food, open. So, as you said, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it's only a Russian restaurant, Russian food.
Yeah.
But now, everywhere.
Now, for Beijing lifestyles, as cosmopolitan, as fused and mixed as they are, does this trade war thing with America seem a bit funny? I mean, a little bit kind of weird, like out of a science fiction movie or something?
No, I don't think so.
It's kind of strange because we want more interaction and then we want to have a trade war, and then people are interacting less, right?
Yeah, this is a lot of. I think it is a lot of traveler or working, transparent. I mean. People coming from outside of the country, they bring their lifestyle, and then Chinese people open their eyes to see the war,
right?
And then I think it's naturally the change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So everybody coming outside from China bring something from their country to Beijing, and everything just integrate here in Beijing. So that's why we have so many Western style food.
Yeah, plus internet.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it's more open, more integrated.
Sure.
And everything's happening, right?
Correct.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Introduce our second
Definitely,
guest?
yeah.
Sure.
We'll come right back.
Okay.
All right. This is Mr. Zhou. Do you want to sort of introduce yourself?
My name's Xia Peng, or you can call me XP.
I am so sorry, Mr.
okay.
Xia. Yeah, so I heard you're the founder of Youling Youke, right?
Yes.
Also known as a very cool name. You learn, you cool.
Yeah, you learn, you're cool. You don't learn, you don't cool.
So if you want to be cool, join his class. I heard it's an online English class school,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So what is your initial motivation when you establish your school?
I started the school in 2015.
15.
But actually, I started working in the education industry and test prep industry since 2005. I joined New Oriental, which is the largest English training school in China. And every time, for example, you see Chinese studying in universities in America, at least half of them once been trained by New Oriental to take the TOEFL, which you
I've heard of it.
Have you ever been one of them?
Sure did.
So it's kind of like I used to be the teacher teaching GRE, GMAT, TOEFL.
But it's a different kind of English, right? You really train there for the test.
Yes, trained for the test. A lot of tactics.
But I heard your company is not like that.
That's right. After working 10 years for New Oriental, I felt a bit tired. And training students, memorizing vocabulary, cracking down those testing items, but their English, especially their spoken English and how to use the English in under daily scenarios, are not being improved a lot. So I decided, okay, that's it. I would like to move online and then teach them something different. But not just the colloquial expressions. We choose material very selectively. We teach them Shakespeare.
Shakespeare?
Yeah, Shakespeare, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because the other day we had a rap group on called Unfazed, and they said that in a lot of their music, they're promoting against drugs, against violence, because a lot of young culture in America, pop culture, is drugs, violence, and they're saying it's not cool. Learning is cool. Going to school is cool.
Yes, right.
And they're promoting that. So, I mean, I like your saying that, knowledge, is it learning is cool or learning is cool?
Learning is cool, yes.
And how...
learning Shakespeare is cool.
And learning Shakespeare is cool.
Yes.
And I've heard, people say that you're a workaholic. You work like crazy, 7/24. Is working cool too?
Yeah. I agree. It's because by working that you realize not only your dream, but also people around you. You summon them up to achieve a higher goal that could be mocked by other people. They will say, why you teach Shakespeare? You need to teach test prep. But my company, my friends, all firmly believe that we can use different methods to crack down the English for Chinese people. Right. So we need to work every day because outside of our school, there are hundreds and hundreds of students are learning test prep.
At CGTN, we work all day, 7/24. So is CGTN cool?
Yes, indeed. You guys are very cool.
That's right. Actually, I understand you also do something else which I think is very cool.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks Bruce Lee is cool, and we understand that you do his style of martial arts, Wing Chun. Is that true?
Yes, that's right. I practice Wing Chun as
Yong Chuan, right? Yong Chuan in Mandarin.
Yes, Yong Chun. And by practicing that, it's a kind of like self-relaxing. And also, the philosophy of Wing Chun really influenced me a lot.
Tell me how that influences you.
Well, so in Wing Chun, everything is about attack.
Right.
You don't defend, you always attack.
Right.
And you need to follow the doctrine of the mean, like the Aristotle put it.
Yes.
Because the shortest distance, you try to be direct
Right.
with your opponent or with the counterparts. So every time in the company, when we have some discussions or even conflicts, our philosophy, company's philosophy, is always put it on the table rather than under the table.
So when you have a conflict in your company, do you use Yung Chun to beat up everybody?
No, because they have MMA, which are even better.
Oh, I see.
So every time if we jump into the ring, I think I'm the one who's been beaten down. So,
But this is an important idea,
Yeah.
that martial arts is actually not about fighting.
it's not about fighting.
It's about what? It's about inner peace, it's about calm, it's about not fighting.
And I think it's about motivation and self-discipline, because you have to practice it every day. As the saying goes, if you don't practice all these trainings, then the method or everything will left from your fist. And you have to practice it every day. It's like singing, it's like all the skills that you have. So you have to get up every morning, have strong discipline, and I firmly believe in nowadays this area is full of freedom. But if you don't have the self-discipline, you can't enjoy freedom.
So in the internet world, we're bombarded with information, lots of change, but there's not enough discipline, or would martial arts help people become more focused?
I totally agree. I think self-discipline leads to focus. Because if you don't focus, you'll be flooded around in the environment full of information, fake news and so on and so forth, disputes, and everything is changed. It's an era of liquidity. Everything is flow like the water. And all you have to do is focus at the right moment and make decisions and take responsibilities for yourself. And I think that's also the philosophy of martial
Wasn't that
arts.
what Bruce Lee said, is be like
Like
water?
water, exactly.
Right,
Water.
yes, fluid.
Yes.
Would a little bit later in the show you give us some demonstration of some Yung
It's
Chun?
okay. It's all right.
All right,
No
great.
problem.
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
So make sure to stay with us and check out his, movements of Yung Chun.
Yes.
And remember, be like water. And
Yeah.
let's talk to our next guest, Johan. Dr. Johan,
Pleasure to
how
be
are
here.
you doing?
Very good, very good. Very
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, my understanding is you have a PhD in, is it quantum physics?
Quantum.
It's not quite located in quantum physics. It's about the notion of the virtual.
The virtual.
Yes, and so quantum physics is, I would say, a peripheral field to that. So I have relations to it. And a lot of the concepts that evolves from quantum physics, such as quantum physical field theory, have analogies and are related to the notion of the virtual as well.
So are we today living lives in virtual worlds, or are we living lives in the real world?
I would say that we have almost entirely moved into the virtual world today.
So then, do you see any conflict between Western lifestyle and Chinese lifestyle, or in the virtual realms that we are now in, that those conflicts don't really matter?
First, I would say there's no easy answer to this. I think in all conditions where there are social, cultural change or progress, it's multi-layered. At some of these layers, we see not just harmony, but even synergy. At some layers, we see conflict. So there is this very complex mix of understandings, misunderstandings, reinforcements, and sort of rifts. And it makes up a very fascinating picture. And I would say, too, that we will probably discuss this some more. When I say the virtual, that term has actually come to acquire a lot of meanings in today's language, use of language. So we can dig into that a little bit more later. What do we mean by the virtual? We actually mean many things. It's part of this multi-layered approach to how the world evolves.
Sure.
Now, I have a question for you. You're doing a lot of work with education. I mean, you're teaching kids modern dance. You're doing a lot of, I think you've been spending time in Korea teaching, now in China teaching, looking at the lifestyle changes in China through your students. What do you see? I mean, our stereotype is that lifestyles here, everybody's working very hard and everybody's very uptight and the students are very uptight and they have tiger mothers and all that. Is that stereotype true?
Well, first I want to say that, yes, I'm very fortunate to work partly in education and in a very broad spectrum. I do everything from working with postgraduate, master students, PhD, research students, down to elementary school children. So I have the pleasure of working across this amazing range of abilities and levels of knowledge. And I would say again, the answer is very complex to your question. Yes, we do see a lot of route learning, a lot of uptight students who just expect the teacher to give the answer, but we also see problem solving. We also see creative approaches where there is no given answer. We actually have to make the answer. We have to create the answer. So all of these things coexist.
See, that's a change,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
China has that stereotype. A lot of people are just giving out answer, but as you can see, a lot of Chinese students are willing to work out themselves, working out for answers and all that. So that's a change.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, the thing is, we're thinking about lifestyles and creativity. And I know in America, the media is always saying, oh, in China, there's no creativity because everybody is and
like working like a robot, everybody's studying for tests and all that.
But I mean, and they also say in America that, they're taking the copyrights and the trademark because there's no copyright, but, there's no creativity. But I understand Donald Trump wants to build a wall between Mexico and America. So is he stealing China's copyright? Like the Ming Dynasty, they built the wall, or Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor, built the wall. Is he stealing the copyright? Can China sue because that's their copyright to make wall? What do you think?
Well, I hope they would. That would be a fantastic development of this situation, I think, and a bit humoristic as well. It's important to remember to, I think, always have a little bit of a sense of a humor when you look at certain evolvement on the world scene. And the historical irony of the wall there is of course, a very, I think, funny element.
Creativity. Tell me about it. Is China a spontaneous, creative nation?
Well, I think that even I have been coming in and out of China for quite a lot of years. I have seen in stages of China developing over more than half a decade. And I think that even by quite a light superficial view, it's obvious that China has an immense creativity. You go into Chichoba, the art district here in Beijing,
right?
And there are all these galleries, there are theaters, and if you look what they are producing, it's mind-bendingly creative. If you look on the scene of technology, of science, a lot of the new technologies that emerge right now in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of building networks, in terms of engaging people to use these technologies, China is head and shoulder beyond most.
And you mentioned Chijiuba. That's just the beginning. You go beyond Chijiuba. There's Caofangdi. There's one art district after another, and then in Daxing, that whole area is all media now. It's like a Hollywood or Bollywood. Everything is going on.
The thing is, it's not just Chinese art, but also art from all over the world, right?
So, if you want to see how China lifestyles are changing, stay with us after this break. We're going to introduce another guest today who's representing the drama and change of lifestyle. We have today supermodel Jessie Liu, straight in from Shanghai. Jessie, how are you?
Hi, Laurence.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
Nice, thank you.
You're looking great.
I'm so happy to come here.
Thank you. The moment I saw you and saw how tall you are, I realized either you're a supermodel or you're one of Gaddafi's bodyguards who escaped.
Oh, I'm very strong.
I bet. How do you keep so strong?
Yeah, because I like to practice yoga in my daily life, and I like dancing. I love Zumba dancing. Hi.
Wow! How are you? Oh my
Hi.
gosh. I was out for a
happy
moment.
to see you guys.
We're having a supermodel here.
That's right. Actually, you're quite tall. I always thought you could be a model too.
Can I?
Sure.
Can I try?
Definitely.
Show me some catwalk. Let's do this. Like, how do I walk?
So, let's
Can't you
walk
walk
there.
Yeah. Let's do this. Do I just walk?
Yeah.
Should I
just keep straight.
All right, just
keep straight here.
All right.
And
so for our audience out there, if you want to try some catwalk, we got a supermodel here. So do it with us. All right, how do we do this?
Be confident. You are a superstar.
All right, I am a superstar right now. Do I do my left leg first or right leg? Is that all right?
No.
Okay.
Just be relaxed here.
All right, just relax here.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, let's go. All right, do I turn?
Turn,
all right.
yes.
How do I pose here? How do I pose?
Yeah, pose. You can pose like this.
Like this?
Or this.
Okay.
Or even no pose.
Or
just
even,
be relaxed.
All right, should I
confident.
smile? Do I need to smile or like be cool?
Yes, be cool.
Be cool, okay.
Yeah.
So that's face.
And your look, just be very sharp.
Very sharp, okay.
Yeah.
Do the dog face and be sharp. Okay. All right.
Confident
so we turn back
and turn back.
And then walk.
Yeah.
All right. I am supermodel now.
Yes. All right.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Jesse, you're not just a supermodel, but you actually represent the new lifestyles in China today. I mean, you're doing yoga, you're doing dance, you're involved with a lot of things, including spirituality, right?
Thank you. Honestly, when I was a little girl, I was quite shy and no confidence. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
I don't. Yeah, maybe you can't imagine, but because when I was very little age, I was always the tallest girl in the class. And that made me feel very different from the others. And you can see my skin is quite dark. And,
but we love that skin tone.
Yeah, but I remember very well that my grandma told me, maybe you need to do some surgery.
Oh, really?
Well, after make your eyes bigger and the skin brighter, something like that.
Okay.
Because in China, in the old generation, people consider beauty like you must be white and big eyes and sweet. Like
so they have that kind of standard. You have to be this and that to be beautiful.
But
it's an old generation who think it's beautiful.
Today there seems to be is there a lot of diversity in China? What do you feel in terms of beauty, in terms of what people appreciate, aesthetics?
I'm sorry?
Diversity, change,
yeah,
multiple ways of looking at things.
I feel I'm quite fortunate to be growing up in this time, like our topic, the reform and opening up of China. I was born in the first decade of this period, and I was quite lucky. And to be a model, I think it's also a bridge to go to out of China, to be connected to the other world, like foreign Western countries. So when I was very little, I always dreamed and curious about the culture of the foreign countries, the culture outside of China. So I like learning English, I like learning French, I like learning foreign languages. And that helped me a lot to be a model, to travel over the world, to go out to the other world countries, to meet people, making friends.
I have seen you many places, but actually on big billboards. You are the Levi girl, right?
Yes. I'm so.
You're the ambassador for Levi brands, it seems, in China. You're on all these billboards and advertisements and.
I did this with Wu Jianhao, Taiwan FC star, F4,
like a very famous Chinese pop star. Group.
I feel so fortunate. It's the first time I saw him, and we went to California to do this advertisement.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think being able to really get to Levi and being their model, really, that's a really showcasing of Chinese people really recognizing your beauty, right?
I feel more and more, I feel confident than I was little, because I feel Western people really like my face, like the little thin eyes. It's a typical face for Chinese girl in a certain way. So I feel, I'm so proud to be a Chinese girl.
And you're bringing the Chinese aesthetic around the world and making it part of global culture, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Let's join our guests today. We have
okay.
Four of you, and we'll have another guest in a moment. I'd like to begin by asking a question to each of you.
There's one word that sort of pops out today in my mind of each of our guests, and that's the word fusion. There's fusion lifestyles. You know, you are leading work on technology and education, but you're practicing Yongquan martial arts, very traditional. You're bringing American culture into China and spreading Harley Davidson motorcycle culture. You are dealing with, you know, virtual reality and education, combining dance with also martial arts, and you are a supermodel, not only bringing Western style to China, but bringing Chinese beauty to the world. Tell us about lifestyle in China today. Is it about fusion, or is it about something Chinese versus something Western, which is always being depicted in the overseas media that there's some extreme or conflict? What is it? Is it fusion? Hao Ge, we'll begin with you.
To me, I think, you know, it's kind of fusion I'm talking about, you know, because after 30 years move, you know, China open to the public, you know, people going out of the country to study or to work in, you know, American whatever, you know, so they bring back a lot of, you know, the culture from other countries, so, and then, so I was thinking it's that way, you know.
Yeah, indeed. Fusion is the theme of the era. They to put all things together and everybody share their ideas with each other. It's just like the ancient Greek. People put everything together, then it becomes a cradle of civilization. And I think here in China as well, because after reform and opening up for 40 years, everything is coming here in China and also mixing with the Chinese traditional ideas. It could be the cradle of the next civilization, perhaps.
So China may actually be a cradle of new civilization, bringing ideas around the world here.
Yes.
Wow. Johan, what do you think?
Well, shall we listen to the lady first, perhaps, here? I'll try to be a gentleman today.
Okay, it's nice of you. So when we talk about reform and opening up of China, it makes me think of waterfall. It's like water, and when the water is full, and he go down and go outside to give others, to share with others. It's just like the our development of China. During the beginning of this beginning, and culture and everything is more and more ready to be shared, to be open up to the other countries. It's like a waterfall. I feel like,
especially their international students really go out and see the world, and you know, celebrity models like you really going out to the whole world and and spread out the Chinese culture and bring back the Western culture. So that's a mix, right? That's a balance of mix.
Yeah, and before China is very famous to be copied, to copy and following others, and now I think in several years, China will be a leader to create and do the creation in the whole world. That's what I feel.
Johan, what do you feel?
And how do you think?
Well, my short answer is yes. I think there is fusion going on. Now, what do we mean with fusion, though? I think, as you will see in many of my answers, there are different aspects to this. So I think that just like in I Ching, each one of these combinations of changes that exist in I Ching, it has potential, but it has danger as well. So I think fusion also has different sides to it. I think that if you look at the danger of fusion, it has to do with, it can lead to a loss of identity. It can lead to a sense of not knowing your origin, not knowing your identity. So that is, shall I say, the danger perhaps, or the challenge of fusion. It could potentially lead to a cancelling out of difference in the world, and that could, of course, from some perspectives, be unfortunate. However, there is another side to fusion which I think personally is much more exciting, which to explain that I would just like to very briefly look on the field of anthropology and how that has evolved over history. So Anthropology started off very much as a Eurocentric activity, especially during the age of the British Empire. British white males almost exclusively going out into the world, looking into what are they doing in all these other cultures. It wasn't really until the time when the British Empire started to crumble and we entered into the post-colonial era that the weakness of this anthropological approach started to become obvious. Now, what was the weakness? Well, as these post-colonial anthropologists started, because they started to develop because there were universities, education in these colonies of the British Empire, so they then started to look back on the British Empire. And then it started to appear that what this original British imperialistic anthropology saw was actually based on their own high-boundedness. Their blind spot, as it were, was that they had a very biased perspective. And the post-colonial anthropologists started to illuminate them and themselves about the bias of their perspective. The fact that what they thought they saw was not so much about that culture of the other, but it was actually about their own preconceived ideas that came from their own perspective. And this, I think, is the exciting thing about fusion, that it can bring us to, it can reveal to us our own blind spots of our own culture, of our own identity. And that, I think, is a great thing about fusion.
Fusion, revealing the blind spots. What Jesse just talked about is the cup half empty or half full? And if we want to find out, is the teacup of China Chinese values and culture and lifestyle half empty or half full? Stay with us after this break, because we're going to bring you someone who's going to tell us all about tea.
40 years of China's opening and reform. I look back, remembering the changes. In 1981, I came here as a student. I became a lawyer and economist, working with China ever since. I advised foreign investors entering China and worked with the Chinese government, drafting the regulations that made it happen. In the 1990s, with globalization, I helped China reform state-owned enterprises, turning them into multinational corporations that would compete on the global stage. In the past decades, I advised on environmental policy that would help China become the world's leader on renewable energy. I have not just observed, but also participated in each stage of China's reform and opening. Now, it's time to tell the story of these past 40 years of reform and opening that has made China the global economy that it is today. It is not about looking back, but learning how we got here and looking toward the future that we will create together.
Join me, Laurence Brahm, for China, 40 years of reform and opening, and marathon talks with behind-the-scenes stories from the experts and innovators who are the change that China will be.
China, reform and opening, 40 years in perspective. Is the teacup half full or half empty? We are going to bring you the world's greatest expert on tea, Jiang Jin'er, because she's the founder of the Green Tea House, one of the most famous cuisine, almost Michelin dining centers for fusing green tea with some of the finest food in China and the world. Jin'er, tell me about Green Tea House. How did you found it?
How did I found a Green Tea House?
Yes.
I think a Green Tea House found me.
It found you.
Yeah.
I'll remember a long time ago. Now, this is probably going back to early 90s. In Sanlitun, before Sanlitun was all built up, there was a teeny, tiny little tea house. I think it was so small there were only 2 tables.
3 tables.
3 tables.
That's
and
right.
there, everybody would go there because there was this beautiful girl who would play guqin for everybody that absolutely made people dream as their tea was being served. It was some of the finest tea, and I believe that girl was you.
Yes,
And
me.
fast forwarding a few years later, the tea house had grown in North Sanlitun with beautiful antiques. I remember you serving, you know, fish bowls with fish swimming on the table, and there was, I mean, it was just you were running a restaurant. You were actually bringing together the most exquisite fusion of Chinese culture for the world to see, and the world came to you. And then tell us what happened after that.
Well, after that, we have been destroyed by Olympic. We were next to Tanzania public toilet and a public garbage collection area. That's where the location you were talking about. And I have been writing letters to government that we're so stinky, so many flies, would you please destroy the toilet? And finally I got answer, we have been destroyed together with the toilet. And then we moved to the Gongti location, and thanks God. And that was a good opportunity that giving us opportunity to create something different. Otherwise we just repeated ourselves, don't we? So I'm really thankful for that opportunity. That's how I put in this way, that is the opportunity choose to us.
Isn't in Chinese the word crisis, 危机, consists of 危险, 危, danger, and 机, 机会. So it sounds like the danger became an opportunity for you.
Exactly.
And using martial arts type style, you turned the negative into positive, and then you had...
By God will.
Yeah, and you had a beautiful... I remember the tea house there was all white. You were doing fusion, and now you're out. You have apparently a palace.
We're in a village now.
A village, but it looks like a palace to me.
The city is so expensive, and we can't sell 100 RMB for a cup of tea, right? Obviously, we can't. It's too expensive.
I'll pay 100 RMB for your tea. That's pretty good tea.
The 180, please.
Oh, the price has gone up.
Yeah, yeah, so okay. We are moved to the village. We are in Hegezhuang village. Well, it's good. Good enough. I'm thankful. Hegezhuang village is lovely. And when I call our village leader, the telephone ringing says, welcome to the most beautiful village, Hegezhuang. But it's not really beautiful. It's going to be very beautiful.
Because your tea house is making it beautiful, right?
At least we should do some little thing to reward or to be graduate to gratitude to the land provide the opportunity.
Aren't you running a lot of charity programs and things at your tea house? Isn't that right?
Little, very little.
Okay.
If someone give us a little opportunity, we would hold it, appreciate, and try our best to do something we could. That's our reason for why we're still being here, right?
So is your teacup half full or half empty?
Always half empty. Thanks God. I hope it's never full. Please don't be full.
Okay, lifestyle.
Otherwise it will be full.
That's right. Join our guests, and we have a very full panel today here.
Hello.
And
Hello.
we've been talking about fusion and fusion lifestyles.
Here.
So Lawrence, before we move on, I think I just got a question from our Sina Weibo. One of the audience leave us a comment. I saw you guys with the large, giant wine glasses. I almost want to get a drink with you guys.
Come on over. We're at the BLT restaurant.
We're at the BLT
in
restaurant.
Jianguomenwai, right here in the center of Beijing.
Yep.
And Tauge is here at Zhou Tao, and we can have them come and join us for some wine. Right?
Sure. If you're watching right now, come join us right now if you're in Beijing.
We're having a party after the show, so come on down, okay? We're down here at the BLT.
Yes.
All right, and we're going to begin the party with this really incredible lineup of guests today talking about lifestyle in China. And we've begun by talking about fusion. But what do you see? Do you see a threat to tradition in China because so many Western ideas are coming in? How important is it to hold on to tradition? I'd like to ask just any of you who wants to just jump in and give me that answer.
Yes, if I may jump in. I believe traditions are incredibly important. It's part of this idea of identity that we just mentioned before. And also a little bit this notion of how technology is having an impact in society today. It's very easy to lose touch with history, with the materiality almost of our existence, and start to live entirely into a world which is all about data flows, and you use apps, and everything is operated through a little rectangular LCD interface. I think the traditions is part of rooting ourselves into time, into place, into history. Incredibly important for future generations to have that link and that understanding.
Traditions, values, identity. Are Chinese in danger of losing their identity with all these sort of Western things coming in right now? Or are they creating a new identity?
I would like to say that as an English teacher, I think more emphasis in China right now is to learn English rather than learn our classic Chinese. As I see it, it's quite dangerous because nowadays a primary school student will spend at least 1/3 of his learning time learning English, prepare for the test. However, they just cut off their Chinese learning time. This is what I worry about. So in my teaching, I always use another approach, is to use English to teach Chinese. In a reverse, very creative way, we teach analects from Confucius, but we don't teach in Chinese way. We use English because ancient Chinese is very difficult to understand, you know. By using English, you can paraphrase it and they understand the meaning, but also they know the classic Chinese. And by combining these two together, I think students really want to learn the classic Chinese, not the vernacular Chinese, and there's no problem with vernacular Chinese.
You're using English to teach the analytics of Confucius.
Yes.
Didn't Mao Zedong say, 古为今用，央为中用? So
that's
this
right.
is that the past serve the present, let foreign things serve China. So that's what you're doing, using English to teach Chinese classics.
And amazing thing is, the translation by James Lack, the one who translated Confucius Analects, he used a lot of Latin verb or a lot of Latin words, and exactly bear great resemblance to the ancient Chinese classics. And that means the word did not being two parts, it's combined all together. It's no boundary between the East and West, it's just a geological concept. But we together is as a human being. We speak different language, but we see the world from the same perspective.
Now, talking about challenges on values, you're bringing Harley Davidson into China. That's a very American lifestyle. But on your license plate, the number is 186, which 1 means certain, 8 is prosperity, and 6 means smooth. So you're like, what are you doing? This is a feng shui on the Harley Davidson? What's going on?
Actually, I think that's lucky, because the car is an import from the States to Beijing, already with numbers. So for me, just lucky. That's it.
It's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I understand there's no such thing in life as coincidence. Everything is karmically connected and meant to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably I'm big fan of Harley. Then they give me the luck. Then.
And you have the luck here. You're bringing it to us with BLT. I mean, that's fantastic. And Jessie, I mean, you're traveling around the world.
Yeah.
And you're an ambassador of culture in many ways. You're also bringing international culture here. Are you ever afraid of losing your Chinese identity?
Actually, a little bit, because I feel now more and more people want to learn from the Western culture and how we wear, how we eat. We are almost like a Western girl. And yeah, I see many girls like Wang Hong, blogger. Nowadays, it's a very famous job, is Wang Hong. Yeah, I feel on the street or in a coffee shop, very fancy coffee shop, I can see many girls looking at herself in with a mobile and posing next to me, and feel very, very natural and relaxed.
Right. The kind of internet celebrities, as Jessie just talked about, really promoted their kind of lifestyle, and most likely is a kind of healthy kind of lifestyle. We just got a comment actually from Facebook and asking us, I want to know what is the secret to a healthy life, and you're a supermodel, so tell her, what is the secret?
Okay. Like my lifestyle, so I would talk about my own lifestyle.
I heard you're a vegan, is it true?
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian actually. I also like to meditate, doing yoga, meditate, and learn the wisdom of Buddhism. Last month I was in Sangha Sangha in Shanghai in the temple for 1 week. So I regularly do this kind of thing every year, once or twice every year. I think it made me to be quiet and go in myself. Although I work in a very how to say, 浮躁.
Like kind of noisy environment.
Superficial,
yeah.
like modeling, fashion industry. So I try to always find myself in this kind of world.
Trying to find the inner peace. But Laurence, I know you did the same thing, right? You
Yeah.
tried a lot of meditation.
Do a lot of meditation, yoga, a lot of practice, also martial arts. So I think what's really important is fusing traditional arts and traditional ways of centering oneself with the new lifestyle. So I think, Jing, you are actually, promoting this type of lifestyle through, your work with tea and healthy cuisine. So tell us, I mean, how many influences of Chinese tradition are in your own tea house and what you are presenting?
I feel embarrassed after I hear it all. I don't do yoga. I eat everything. I don't meditate.
But that's also a kind of lifestyle.
But you are an incredible cook. I mean, your cuisine is famous. You've gone all over the world teaching people about Chinese fusion cuisine. Tell us about that in healthy lifestyles. And I think you even cook with green tea, right?
Yes,
Should we all be eating green
tea? We put our tea into our cuisine. I put tea everywhere, and we just play with it. Wow. I don't really have a clear, beautiful theory as you all shared. I'm sorry about that. I just feel like maybe I shouldn't sit here. I should sit over there.
But the fact that you really play around with tea, you put tea with almost everything, that's something wonderful. Like, not a lot of people can really think of it, right?
Because I didn't think much.
You didn't think much.
You actually have expressed an idea which is very Taoist, Wu Wei, or not trying. Things come naturally. They have a natural flow, effortless effort. And isn't that one of the key principles of Yongquan?
Exactly.
Could you talk about that? I think your teacher was the son of
the eldest son,
eldest son of Ye Wen.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
You mean some movements?
Yeah, could you show us some movements and tell us about Yongquan and how you use Yongquan? And how it's direct and it's your thoughtless thought. Demonstrate thoughtless thought for us.
Okay, so in Yongquan they have 3 sets of practice that every student need to practice every day. The first one is called 修念头, which means you need to establish the thought, which is the righteous thought. And if the thoughts are fine, and everything will flow. And during the 修念头, you practice is 一坛三否. Means that you need to practice this, and this for 3 times, and this side for 3 times.
Right.
It is not very practical if you're fighting with someone.
Right.
No use at all. So why will practice that? Yip Man once said, at his elder age, when he practiced one side alone, 30 minutes.
Wow, so that
side, 30 minutes, an hour. And for us, that's it.
So you're saying he's doing this for like 30 minutes?
Yes.
So it's an aerodynamic, actually, that is he's practicing.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. And to feel the muscle really, really relaxed. Because you don't need use the elbow. You cannot push your hand. You will directly use the so-called ging, the energy from the back, and the back comes from your leg, and you need to feel it very slowly, as slowly as possible. And that really, really is a difficult challenge for every practitioner of the Yangmen students.
That's very similar to Tai Chi, isn't it?
That's right. It's not always like you see the fighting. It's a practice of your self-discipline, your control of your muscle.
So actually, in the martial arts, it's not about putting that force out. In many ways, it's about bringing it in.
Exactly. And in practical fighting, it always works too. For example, you're very strong, you're very tall. If I want to directly fight with you, it might
Do
be...
you guys want to be in the middle? Yeah,
okay.
so that we can
It might be I will be put it down very, very easily.
Okay.
So by practicing Wing Chun, the thing is, you always borrow the energy from him.
You borrow the energy.
From your opponent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than you give him the energy.
Okay.
So there's a kind of strength, it's called 撞门技. It's like you're crushing the door. I can demonstrate when Bruce Lee do that. It's kind of like that, right? But you don't use your fist to go that way.
Right.
It's not powerful enough. It's like the American football guy. You use your whole body crushing the door. And then you use your fist by putting an arrow. And that will go that way. Yes.
Right.
And then you use your shoulder to give a little bit spice. So it's very fast.
Wow.
Wow. And how did Bruce Lee do the 2-inch punch?
That is actually the 2-inch punch.
That's the 2-inch punch?
Yes, because every time if you do like that, it's like a tickling.
I see.
We were just, for example, top, boom. That's it. You do fast. And when he comes to me, I'm not going to fight like that, but I will do like that. So it's kind of a two energy crushing together.
Wow.
All I have to do is just put my leg there, and he crush it on me. So borrow the energy to fight rather than use the energy to fight. That is also perhaps our solution to the trade war between America and China.
That's right. That's very good. Excellent. And so that's how the trade war will be changed. Because actually, if you think about it, Donald Trump is trying to go out there and box, but he's up against inner chi, soft power.
That's right.
And if I'm correct, soft power is always stronger than hard power. Is that right?
That's right.
And maybe, Johan, you can talk a little bit about soft power. I think you do Bagua, is that right?
Well, yes.
Show us a little bit.
Right, right. Well, I do a wide range of martial arts, and Bagua is one of them. But just like many martial artists, I also practice a fusion of movement traditions.
Right.
Actually, one of my favorite movement practices is not really classified as a martial art. It is usually called contact improvisation. It's part of the postmodern development of dance, essentially. Now, what I find really interesting there is that contact improvisation is always in relation to or with another human being. Could be one, could be several. Very often you practice it as two. And one of the reasons why I find it so fascinating and also related to the martial arts, and especially Bagua, is that in order to practice it, you really have to develop a synchronization with that other person.
Understand.
It's almost like you have to think or stop the thinking of us as two. I am my body here and you are your body there, but we're part of one system where energy is always exchanged and moving between us. And I think this concept is just very identical to what is used in Bagua and other martial arts.
I was going to say, in your martial art, in Wing Chun, aren't you in Qi Cao also doing a practice with a partner, and you're in synergy rather than conflict? Is that right?
Yeah, you find the synergy in order to find the opportunity to fight. And that is also in Wing Chun called Ting Sao. You always, yes, you can close your eyes practicing that.
Right.
You feel the skin. You feel the other people's skin. For example, if I'm going to push down, you feel it.
Yeah.
And you try to hit me, I can feel it.
Right.
So I'm not going to use my eyes because your eyes are always slow. Your hands touching together always fast. That is the thing. You do the contact, you feel the energy.
Yes. But I have a question. So if you guys fight together, like, do you guys just feel each other?
No, if they fight together, Jesse and I have dinner at Joe Zhao's restaurant, and then we're going to Jinger's tea house for tea afterwards. Sure. You guys be busy fighting, okay?
Well, can I join? Yes, no, I think this is a very interesting question. In fact, a lot of times when you do contact improvisation, I find that vision is not important at all. Very often I find that you have what something called a soft gaze. You actually do not focus on anything in particular. You just allow the world pass by, but you don't really identify or pick things out in terms of vision. Sometimes even close my eyes while doing it. There is one big difference though between the practice of improvisation, dance, contact improvisation, and the martial arts, and that I think has to do with the notion of outcome, perhaps. In martial arts, is very much about well, you want to in essence survive in the end, and you do that by, in some sense, maybe winning over the opponent. In contact improvisation, it's about building trust. in order for this really to work, we have to build up a sense of trust. And by doing that, we have to show each other our vulnerabilities. And I have to allow my vulnerability to be enacted on by you and vice versa. It's when we can understand our vulnerabilities that we really can start to get this resonance, where we know where we can trust each other, where we need to support each other, and how we can build something that is bigger than the 1+1.
So you were just describing about the trade war, how it would be won or lost, but you're talking about what we should be doing after the trade war. I mean, how something new can be built through trust and through synergies. Is that right?
Absolutely. And this is something I strongly believe is important to understand, because so often in our world today we think in terms of competition, winning, losing. These terms, I think, are very superficial. When reality really is about building trust, being able to work together through our weaknesses and strengths, and through an understanding of that, build something that benefits everybody so much more.
So to benefit everybody so much more, would you negotiate with Donald Trump, and would you go and re-engineer the WTO? And I think we're going to have a better lifestyle, and then there'll be BLT restaurants all over China and the world, right?
Wonderful. Yes.
That'd be great.
I think what you just talked about is actually a very big part of Chinese culture, like to gaining trust with other people. I think that's why a lot of our leaders, top leaders from politics or economics, really stress the importance of mutual trust with other countries, right? Isn't that amazing? Like really integrate Chinese culture in every aspect. And I know, Mr. Zhou, you're doing, the food industry. You want to go back? Yeah. So you're doing the food industry. So really a big chunk of how you really want to bring Western food here in China. Do you want to sort of integrate Chinese food with American food?
Oh yeah, actually yes. I've been working for American company, restaurant, food and beverage business for about 16 years. 16 years. And then I think, at very beginning, when American food come to China, Beijing, this is not. I think this is through McDonald's and then KFC at the moment, probably 30 years ago. And then that's Chinese people knowing Western food from that moment. But now, since a lot of Chinese people, they are working or studying outside of country, they getting know. So fast food is not, really a Western food. There's Michelin star, fine dining, casual Western dining. There's a lot of brands. But when the Western brand come to China, it's not the typical food come to China. It's works. That's why a lot of brands they are not success in China. Because probably the Chinese people they are not work on the flavor. It's like Chinese food, the pita. It's they call southern years eggs. But most of the Chinese people, through the sauce to the north, we all like it, But going to the States, nobody eat it. This is wow. This most ugly food in the world. They give the comment. But now when I open my restaurant, because I work in States for almost like 2 years, so because I'm Chinese, Beijing. So, the food I eat from States is, I like it, but it's a traditional American food. So I bring them back. I use this way, to...
Because you have some kind of Chinese knowledge yourself, that's why you know like what Chinese people may like and bring them back. That's a really good kind of integration. And you're Chinese here and you go to a lot of international countries. Do you like American food?
American food, yeah. For me, I like it. But if you let me to eat every day American food, I will miss a lot Chinese food.
Yeah, sure.
So sometimes when I go to France, I will bring a little bag of xiao mi, a little white rice,
kind of rice,
and then I can cook like porridge at home.
So is it Western lifestyle that you're embracing or Chinese lifestyle? Is there a conflict or are they merging or are they in balance?
I feel it's a very good combination. As I'm vegetarian, I like to eat vegetable. So I read a report recently to eat the how to say
raw, like raw food.
Raw food is more healthier, and for the health. I'm not sure about the Joe. How do you think, like a professional cuisiner?
I think people have their different mind, you know. Yeah, me, I think I'm very similar to Jin-er, you know, because I eat everything. There's no food I'm not afraid of, you know. So I eat vegetarian. I mean, I eat meat. I'm meat lover as well. So this really depends, you know. What is your favorite?
So I think there's this concept, like China is really tolerant of any single kind of lifestyle. Whatever, like if you eat everything, if you just eat vegetables, if you do, you know, Tai Chi, if you eat everything in an American restaurant here in Beijing.
Look at my size, you know.
Yeah, and if you know, teach English online, like all kind of lifestyles embracing here, right?
The question I have is healthy lifestyles. And I remember when I first came to China in 1981, in the 80s, every morning you'd see out in front of Gongqi, you know, many people doing Tai Chi and many people practicing Qigong and many people, you know, riding bicycles. And it seemed, you know, for an American coming from a fast food culture where people sit and they watch football on TV and eat popcorn, that suddenly Chinese people had an incredibly healthy lifestyle. Fast forwarding a couple of decades later, everybody's in a car, they're driving in the car, they're also eating fast food, and, you know, fast forwarding again to today, are we coming full circle? I see the mobile bikes and the offload bikes all over the city. Are we coming full circle around to re-embrace a healthy lifestyle? What do you all feel?
I think I agree on you. Is you know, the life is like circle. You know. You know, 30 years ago, I mean, so 30 years ago, you know, it's only a fast food. I mean, so talk about Western food in China, it's only fast food, you know. But after that, you know, it's okay, like a Pizza Hut coming to China, and that's called you know, casual Western dining. And now it's a Michelin star, 1, 2, 3, you know, okay, coming to China as well. So a lot of hotel or, you know, fine dining restaurant, they cooperate with you know, Michelin restaurant from you know, other countries to do promotion, whatever. And then now is you know, young people, they love you know, stay at home, you know, play game, and then, you know, order you know, delivery, and then fast food again. You know, I was thinking this is a circle, you know. Yeah.
What do you feel? I mean, is it?
Yeah, I would like to jump in here again and mention something about this circle. And especially in terms of perhaps bicycles coming back, perhaps.
Because I think the same time.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, yes, right. So I think that the bicycle is just an ingenious thing in terms of lifestyle. It's space efficient, it's energy efficient, it means you move, you get more healthy by using it.
And good for environment.
Good for the environment, absolutely. So there are many great things about it. Now, I see this as part of actually a little bit of a wider trend. Now, if we look on some other areas, over the last few years, one of the fastest growing industries in the world is actually the vinyl records industry.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember the exact numbers, but every year it has grown somewhere in the range of 10 to 20% over the last, I think, 5 or 6 year period. Now, don't quote me on this one, but it's somewhere along these lines. We see also, and so there are many factories that closed down that were doing vinyl records, but now many re-emerge again. Now, how is this possible in this age when we're all supposed to be streaming music through digital devices? Another field, photography. We're all supposed to be using our mobile phones to take photos right now. At the same time, a big, major former American film company just reissued an old classical film called Ektachrome because it was a demand for it. People want to start to use this film again. There are film factories in different countries that are reopening. Now, I find this really fascinating in terms of the cycle that returns. Whenever there's a force, there's a counterforce. All this drive into this digital realm where we lose touch with the physical material, there is a counter-reaction where people want to go back to the material, the physical, the analog workflow of listening to music, making photography, transportation.
Yeah.
I find this really interesting in terms of alternative lifestyle. We don't have to just single-mindedly follow the digital route through the apps in the phone. There are alternative ways of living life.
Alternative lifestyles. Will China be leading the new trends in alternative lifestyles on our planet through its own fusion lifestyle? Stay tuned after this short break and we'll come back and listen to our guests. So here's the big question. Is China at the forefront of alternative lifestyles? And what I mean by that is I remember in the 80s, people were really dealing with the hardcore issues of living. That is, you know, food, education for their kids, the real basics. And as things moved and China progressed quickly, again, throughout the 80s, people before didn't have refrigerators at home, they didn't have, you know, CD players or record players, and suddenly everything starts to happen. All the electronic products are there. They start to have changes in their lifestyle. Then luxury comes in. Then it's into, you know, there's like, you know, more Lamborghinis and Mercedes-Benz and Ferraris out there in the street than anywhere else in the world. And suddenly Chinese are traveling everywhere in the world. All kinds of places. It used to be going to Europe, now it's going to more exotic places. And I spent a lot of time in South Asia, in, you know, Kathmandu, and a lot of Chinese young people will go there. The first thing they're going to do is they end up dressing like a hippie, getting into, you know, a whole different alternate lifestyle very, very quickly as soon as they get off the plane, and then bringing that back here. That's just maybe, you know, a stereotype on the superficial. That's what we see. But what's happening? Is there an alternative lifestyle movement in China today? And also, is it being driven by new concepts of spirituality? Tell me. Jump in there and tell me what you think.
Jesse, you want to go?
Okay. So it makes me feel like the circle is like an energy, which is going up and down and everywhere. And when I was little, I just see my grandparents. They like to save everything, the food, the water, and they have new clothes, but they don't want to wear them. Just keep in the
closet.
Yeah, closet. And to wait one day, maybe Chinese New Year, they will take it out and to wear them. It's really a traditional Chinese culture, which influenced me a lot in my childhood. And then I feel it's a good thing, actually, for China, because nowadays people have many materials, and they don't care about it's too much. And then we have too much resource. And for the environment, I feel it's not so good for the animals, for the fish, and for the air. So people now, I feel we are begin to thinking about save water, like save the water we use from the little things that we do from every day.
Yeah.
And last time I just read a report from Washington newspaper.
Washington Post.
Yeah, it's an article. They said the top 10 luxury nowadays in the whole world. And the first one is, I remember, is to be awakened in the life. And the second one is to have a heart full of freedom and love and the joy. And the third one, I remember, is to have the aim to travel all over the world. Yeah. So it makes me really think about my life from myself, that maybe if I have many material, it can't make me feel real happy.
Alternate lifestyles. Yeah. Gina, are you promoting alternate lifestyles at the tea house?
Even though Joe and I will eat everything.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean we agreed with everything. Well, but you were talking about it, it's really inspiring. Especially Joe were mentioned that, you know, our lifestyle were more like a circle, right?
Yeah.
You were also kind of mentioned there were similarity from now with before. But I'm thinking our human civilization is always moving forward. Well, even though I think it's maybe a little bit, you know, related with our Chinese faith believed in reincarnation idea, but my understanding of reincarnation is, imagine there is an apple tree in our courtyard, and this year we have a beautiful fruit. And this apple, from the color, size, taste, and the fragrance, are so similar like the apple we have from the same tree of the last year. But is this apple, is the apple from last year? So that's what I'm thinking about. Our human civilization looks like the showing in the material surface, but actually it's our soul and the spirituality and this understanding, compassionate, love, you know, courage, wisdom, creativity are never stopped, moving forward forever.
Yeah, so it keeps going. So Mr. Zhou, do you have any response to?
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
You certainly agree with that? Yeah.
No, I agree what she's saying, you know. Yeah.
So actually it's a circle, it's a cyclical approach that's very much in the Chinese lifestyle, which then talks about the diversity. I think as far back, you know, ancient Chinese times, the evolution of everything in China has been about a melting pot of ideas coming in. China was always at the sort of beginning or maybe the end, depends on how you look at it, is your teacup half full or half empty, of the Silk Road. Now it's the cyber road. And with all that cyber and all those changes, you're looking at your lifestyle that you're presenting. You know, learning is cool.
Yeah.
Workaholic is cool. Who actually practices martial arts as a discipline that is completely meditative. It's not about being a workaholic. It's rebalancing that. Yes. Are you the new alternative lifestyle?
Yes, I think so. And also our learning product itself is very alternative, because basically 99% of teachers in China teaching English through the textbooks, but we teach through news and also Shakespeare, Western philosophy. I don't think there are so many English teachers teaching Shakespeare in the United States.
No, right? Absolutely right. I think very few people in the United States these days read literature or even, you know, Shakespeare, any literature. I think most of the time they're looking at videos of cats smashing up skateboards and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's right. So, but in year 2015, when we decided to launch our first product teaching William Shakespeare, there's a lot of critics and skepticism going on, say, you can't sell this because people don't want to learn Shakespeare. It's too far away from their daily life. And in the end, we sell over 1 million copies of our courses through Shakespeare. And that explains exactly the skepticism's idea. It's far away from their life, so that's why it provides them a sanctuary.
Very interesting. And I think we had this problem. We were talking earlier about our old friend David Sun, and when he brought Starbucks to China, people said no one's going to drink coffee in China because it's got thousands of years of tea. Well, what happened?
After 10 years, I think you know, most of the young people, they start to drink coffee instead of tea.
Yeah. So again, it's a transformation of lifestyle. How do you see lifestyles evolving?
Well, I would like to just connect it back to the topic we just touched upon here before as well, with spirituality. If we think of capitalism as a mode of spirituality here for a moment, that might sound a little bit strange, but one of the core ideas of capitalism is the concept that if I act in my own interest and I try to gain as much as possible, it will in some strange way actually lead to the benefit of everybody. That is one of the core concepts of capitalism in simple terms. So you could say it is an approach to spirituality. Spirituality is very self-centered, to act in your own interest opportunistically. Now, I think that in terms of alternative lifestyles to that, if we now again, I propose this, but if we think of capitalism being one of the biggest export products of the Western world, now how can we develop perhaps another approach? I think, to my perspective of China, also based on what we have been discussing, China's long tradition of understanding of qi, of understanding of the martial arts, of the interaction between elements in the universe. China can, again, I think Chinese people, I believe, could very much develop this alternative spirituality, which is based on an understanding of the interrelation between things. That is not just about me, me, and me, but it is about us and how we are interrelated. Now, I think this is becoming even more important as we continue to see how the climate is changing. For instance, how our actions in terms of building industries, finance, factories, transportation, all these practical elements of living, it actually has an impact on our lives. They become spiritual choices. How we choose to make transport, how we choose to conduct business, how we choose to run factories. These are ultimately spiritual choices, if you see it from the perspective of, again, capitalism as a mode of spirituality. And I think that it can be built something that is alternative but becomes stronger and more beneficial again, because it involves the interrelatedness of things. I think this is a very interesting thing for me about the potential of China.
You know, as we come to the full cycle today, we're going in a cycle. As we come sort of to the end of the cycle, at the end of our program today, rather than looking back 40 years from bicycles to cars to bicycles, I'd like each of you to look ahead 40 years. What does the future look like in China for lifestyle, spirituality, the way people will live in the future? Jing, let's start with you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think the future, what I vision of, there's something will be never change. It's like, we always want, feel the sincerity of love and relationship, and our true compassionate towards each other, and to be good listener and a sharing spirit. Those things will never change, but we may develop more in different forms.
Jessie.
Go ahead? Yeah. In my point of view, in the future 40 years, I feel people and is no more distance all around the world. Now we feel quite near and close, and culture will be combined together, and the whole world will be very combination. And on that day, when we talk about culture, I think it will be different thing compared to today, like culture. Yeah, I still can't imagine, but something in my head is, it's very, very different.
So in the future, 40 years from now, will there be supermodels like you, or will they be holograms that are, just light, that are shadows, and people are watching this in a virtual reality? What's going to happen? What does the future look like?
I think in the future, there will be no model. My career will not exist anymore. Everybody can be a model from their own style, own lifestyle, as everybody have. It's we can learn from each other, because now I heard that in a Western country they have oversized model. It means the lady who is oversized can be very well known and famous, and many people like them.
Right. I think China has that too.
Yeah, it's begin.
Yeah.
It's not like just skinny and like very tall, skinny can be a model. Model can be open to everyone, and everybody can be a model.
Yeah, so everyone can be their own model.
Yes. In fact, there has even been catwalks with disabled people, with prosthetic limbs as well.
Sure, sure. The world will be very open, and everybody can have the opportunity to try. And I have a book that I just bring here to share with you all. It's a French friend in Shanghai. It's a photographer, and he had the dream to shoot the different Chinese girl to show to foreign countries to give the culture out.
Do you want to show us a little bit? So all kinds of Chinese girls.
Yeah, and I was just be chosen as one of them, and they just shoot the, different girls and the photographer, and they have tell some story, like everyone and each person. They are very different actually.
So all the girls are very different.
Different personality.
So he really want to show the whole world there's not just a single type of Chinese girl.
Diversity. Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of diversity.
They have own story and
you got girls who's smoking. You got girls who's wearing jeans. You got girls who's eating stuff. You got girls who's wearing makeups. All those.
Yeah.
And they're all in different shapes, I think.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's about, the change in lifestyle, alternative, diversity. And if we project that into, the different realms that you look at, Johan, you have seen the future. Does it work?
I come from the future, you mean? Well, I would like to pick up on two different concepts that you just addressed here. One has to do with the notion of supermodels as holograms, avatars, which has to do with the impact of technology. The other concept is what you mentioned, that the idea that everybody can be model, which I think has to do a little bit with the development of the fashion industry. If you go back quite a few decades, the fashion industry was very much a top-down business. You had the supermodels and a few companies that set the standard that everybody else wanted to dress. Now, all these big famous fashion companies are actually having scouts all around the world picking up elements, what is happening on the streets, what is happening amongst people. Absolutely. So it's almost a bottom-up approach that is happening now, which I think speaks for the maturity of the fashion industry in a way, that the fact that it's starting to engage with and celebrate the individuality, the physical differentiator that exists between us all. Now, if we apply this to the realm of technology in order to look ahead, because I do believe that technology will become increasingly, it's already important, but it will become increasingly important. I think that right now we are a little bit in this immature state where the fashion industry was, say, 50 to 100 years ago, of a top-down approach. We see that the technological landscape is dominated by a few major actors. I don't even need to name them. I'm sure you all know them and use them for social media and news streams and all kinds of stuff, communication, payment, whatever. So the world right now is basically owned by a few companies, very few companies, that billions of people literally use. Now, I hope that technology will go through a similar process of maturation as the fashion industry has done, where people will actually start to say, hey, I don't need to just use this mega big corporation services. I can create my own digital lifestyle. I can create my own server. I can build my own ways of engaging with digital technologies. I don't need to just be a passive consumer of major corporations. All it takes is a bit of knowledge. And I think that this is a potential, again, future lifestyle where we see diversification of how individuals can express themselves through the use of technology and not just be mainstreamed by major corporations that just extracts our data and then uses it for all kinds of sinister purposes, as we have seen many examples of in the news in the last couple of years.
Wow.
Amazing.
The future
Is there going to be BLT restaurants all over China 40 years from now?
No, I don't think so.
Harley Davidson, we're all going to ride a Harley Davidson?
Because I'm a lazy guy.
We're going to have mobile Harley Davidson. You can just use your WeChat and you can pay for it and borrow it for the...
That's what I'm thinking, I think in my vision, after, 40 years, I was thinking this, all the cities like a cosmopolitan city, people traveling free, no more visa. Now think about, and then people, they can do what they want, that's what I'm thinking, because
what about the food?
Change too fast,
Change too fast.
Yeah.
So what about the food? How do you think?
You talk about food. I was thinking, this, the bigger restaurant, is getting less and less. I think it's more, typical, flavor. Yeah, smaller restaurant, maybe a slow cook,
So like local foods, everybody can come down and try it.
That's what I'm thinking in future.
Great vision.
And will the future technology youth of China all be at their computers practicing martial arts? Tell us, what's going to be the healthy lifestyle of the future?
Well, actually, your question about what's going to be in 40 years' time, that question occurred to me when I start my business. Because we would like to build a company, not for now, but for the future. And by starting today, that you build up the momentum. When the future is there, we're already there. We have been there for 40 years already. So the slogan of our product is called, "Learn from the useless and free the soul."
That is very Taoist and very Buddhist at the same time.
That's right. Because learn from the useless. In the future, you don't need to learn English as a tool to communicate. You got all these AI gadgets. You speak language to the gadgets, and then we simultaneously translate precisely into any other languages in the world, Japanese, Korean, whatsoever. You just need that device. But at that moment, I still believe human beings need to learn another language or other languages, because they want to see the real language and the real culture behind it in order to understand them, and also save time to learn the language of our own. And at that moment, language is not for the purpose, but to free the soul. So that's why I think in 40 years' time, there will be no English learning schools but us.
And our souls will be free.
Exactly.
And if we think about this, what I've learned today is, even though we look at on the surface that there seems to be a lot of Western things coming into China, that the traditions are really, really deep and strong. And in many ways, those traditions underneath the surface are the transformational force which is creating an alternative, new, sophisticated lifestyle in China, and maybe Chinese lifestyle or China's new lifestyle will be a leader. But there's a problem. The stereotype, and people ask me all the time, do Chinese work too hard? Are they always working? Is that really true as a stereotype?
When you're asking me this, I'm really thinking whatever change it would take place, I think it all comes down to balance, because that's what Chinese culture is all about, right? You really want to find a balance. If you work really hard, you gotta play hard, Get some relax.
Yang, harmony, the middle way. I like what you said. In China, people work hard, but as our guest showed us today, they also play hard. And so if you want to play hard, come on down tonight. The party will be at BLT. We're going to have wine. We're going to have tea. We're going to have a little bit of martial arts. And the party will be going all night to tomorrow, when we'll come back to you with another episode of China, Reform and Opening, 40 Years in Perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Make sure to stay with us.